Well, one of the great new ways to visualize data in Excel is the new conditional formatting. If we go to File, Open, go to Lesson 4, and open the conditional formatting file. Conditional formatting has been around in Excel for a while, but they added some great new features, and we're going to walk through those features now. The first feature we want to do is the data bar feature. This is really cool. It adds a little in-cell data bar to every cell. First thing you should do is select this range of numbers. Now you'll notice that I don't have a total at the bottom, and you have to be very careful that if you did have a total in the bottom to not include the total in the selection. I've selected the numbers. We go to the conditional formatting dropdown and choose data bars. Initially, Excel offers the 6 accent colors from the current theme in the data bars. Hover over one of those and you'll see how it works. There we go. Instantly now you can see your largest numbers because they get the largest bar, and all the small numbers get the smallest bar. In this case, we have a lot of customers who ordered in the $30,000 to $50,000 range, and a few customers who are $750,000. Those large customers get the huge bars. Without this visualization, you might think that most of these numbers were about the same, but adding the visualization, you can very quickly see the customers that really, really matter. Now, this works with live preview, so I can hover over the different colors. Hover, 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 hover. When I find one that I like, I just click to choose it. Data bars, very, very easy to use. It's a great feature. How much easier could it be? Select the numbers, 3 clicks, and you've added the data bars. Fantastic new feature in Excel 2007. I'm going to go to my second worksheet in this workbook, the icon sets worksheet. I remember icon sets back in the 90s. Those high-priced management reporting tools added icon sets, and now they finally come to Excel. You'll see that we have the numbers for 2008 selected. Go to conditional formatting and choose icon sets. There are 17 different icon sets to choose from. You have to think about this. If you're going to be printing in black and white, stay with the grayscale icon sets. The other choice is whether you want to have 3, 4, or 5 ratings. Let me choose one so you can see how it works. I'll choose the traffic lights. In this case, the largest numbers get the green traffic light, the middle numbers get the yellow traffic light, and those small customers, the $40,000 to $50,000 customers, get the red traffic light. Now, of course, this icon set looks horrible when you print it out in black and white. One of the icons I really like is the new concept of power bars. Everyone has a cell phone, and everyone is always looking at their cell phone power bars to see whether or not they have a signal. The power bar icon looks great, and it prints great in black and white. That's one of my favorites. Again, live preview is working here, so you can hover, 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 and then choose one. Now, I have a complaint with icon sets. The icons always appear left justified in the cell. To me, I'm not quite sure, looking at this printed spreadsheet, whether the icon is applying to the 2007 numbers in column B or the 2008 numbers in column C. That's a frustration. The only workaround that I've seen is taking the numbers in column C and centering them. And I really hate centering numbers. Numbers should always be right justified. This is a cool concept. This is a very cool concept, but because of the whole alignment scheme, I'm slightly bothered by it. I hope that in the next version of Excel, or maybe even a service release, they'll come up with a solution so we can change the alignment of the icons. Let's move on to the next new conditional formatting. We'll go to the color scales worksheet. Now, in the old conditional formatting, you could highlight numbers that were over a certain value. Well, now, instead of just highlighting numbers that are over a certain value, we can apply an entire gradient to the numbers. Let's select all of the data for both 2007 and 2008, making sure not to include those numeric headings in row 1. From the conditional formatting dropdown, choose color scales. The 4 color scales on the top are 3 color scales. The 4 on the bottom are 2 color scales. 2 color looks much better when you're printing in black and white. If you're going to be showing in PowerPoint or on the screen or printing in color, the 3 color scales are the best. The first paradigm is green to red, largest numbers in green, smallest numbers in red. Now, if you're showing something where the large numbers are bad, let's say defects or something like that, then you might want to use red to green. This is where the largest numbers are in red, smallest numbers are in green. Blue to red gives a blue ribbon to the largest number, and red to blue reminds me of a temperature scale. Hottest numbers in red, coldest numbers in blue. So again, hover, 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 choose one. I'll choose this one. You're 3 clicks away from creating a fantastic data visualization. Great new feature that they've added to Excel. Now, it's obviously simple, but there's a few advanced things that you can do with conditional formatting. Let's go to the next worksheet. It's called Stop If True. Sometimes having an icon in every single cell is really kind of too much. Let me choose all of our cells. Go to Conditional Formatting, Icon Sets, and apply the traffic light icons. Okay, now wouldn't it be really cool if we just took our customers who are over $750,000 and only highlighted those customers? Well, you can do it, but it's really strange how it works. We've applied the icon to all of our cells first. We're going to go into conditional formatting and choose Manage Rules. In the Manage Rules dialog box, you can see the one rule that we've set up. I'm going to move the dialog box so that way we can still see our underlying cells. And I want to create a new rule. New rules are always added at the top of the list, and that's what's actually going to allow this trick to work. Now we have some different rule types, and these are always a little bit confusing to me. Format all cells based on their value sounds like what I want, but that top choice is for the brand new icon sets and color scales. What we actually need is format only cells that contain. We want to format only cells where the cell value is less than 750,000. Now normally we would click that format button and apply a format, but here's the beautiful trick. The cells under 750,000, we want them to look normal. We don't want any icon, we don't want any special formatting, and so I leave it with no format set. Click OK, and now the final step to make it work. You'll notice that we have two rules, the cell value rule and the icon set rule, and over on the right-hand side is a button called Stop If True. This is brand new in Excel 2007, and it's a great addition to conditional formatting. Click Stop If True, and now, when Excel goes through the cells in the spreadsheet, if the cell is under 750,000, it applies no formatting and stops. If it's above 750,000, no formatting is applied, but then the second rule will apply our icon. Click OK. Now we have the green icons on just our really big customers. This is a great trick. I love obscure things. If you set up your icon sets like this, I guarantee no one else will ever figure out how you did it. One other gotcha to talk about with these new conditional formattings is if you have one cell that's an outlier. Let's say that we have this data set here. We have a couple of really small customers, but then there's one customer that returned a whole bunch of product to us. If we apply one of the new conditional formattings to this range, it probably won't look like what we expect. Select the cells and apply a data bar. Okay, Amazing Chopstick only bought $150 from us, and they get almost the largest bar because compared to that one outlier, compared to the $20,000 return, they are rather large. Again, sometimes we need to step in and manage these rules. Go back to conditional formatting and choose Manage Rules. Now we only have one rule. Select that rule and choose Edit Rule. By default, the data bars are giving the shortest bar to the cell with the lowest value and the longest bar to the cell with the highest value. That works most of the time, but in this particular case, we need to say that anything with 0 is the shortest bar. So on the left-hand drop-down underneath shortest bar, we'll change the type from lowest value to a specific number. Set the number to 0, click OK, click OK. Now any numbers that are smaller than 0, negative 20,000, automatically gets the tiny bar, as well as our customers that bought 150 or 250. This effect starts to look correct. Move on to the duplicates worksheet. Another great new feature that they added in conditional formatting is the ability to highlight duplicate records. This time, rather than choosing the numbers, I want to look and see if we have any customers who bought from us twice. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, hit the End key, and then the down arrow key to select my customers. Go to conditional formatting, choose Highlight Cells Rules, and then choose Duplicate Values. There it is. Somehow, Superior Hardware managed to slip in here twice, as well as Fabulous Sandal Partners. Might be where someone keyed the account number wrong, or when they came back, we didn't realize that they were already an existing customer. In the past, you would have had to use count if or some other technique to discover these customers who were in there twice. Now using conditional formatting and choosing highlight duplicates, it's very easy to visually see the customers that are a problem. Click OK to accept this effect. Now if you had 5,000 customers and you had to go through and find them all, it would be rather frustrating. Another great new feature that they added is the ability to take these conditional formatting formats and sort them to the top. Superior Hardware Supply has the formatting. I'm going to right-click and choose Sort, put selected font color on top. This is great. Excel was smart enough to realize that I did not have the entire range selected, and of course I do want to expand the selection, otherwise my numbers would be all wrong. We'll click Sort, and then all of the highlighted cells will be sorted together. Now in this case, A2 happened to be the selected cells, so the white cells ended up on top, and the highlighted cells ended up on the bottom. And there you go. Now all of our duplicate customers are sorted together. There's other instances where you might need to sort by color. If we move on to the next worksheet, the Sort Color worksheet, I run into people all the time that will mark cells with particular colors. Red means this, yellow means this, green means this. It was very frustrating in old versions of Excel because there was no good way to add up all the numbers that were red, or certainly no way to sort all the red cells to the top. Well, now in Excel 2007, we have the ability to sort or filter by color. You could right-click, as we did in the last example, but let's take a look at the full sort dialog box. Select one cell in your data, and on the data ribbon, choose Sort. Now, I want to sort by my 2008 field, so in the first drop-down, I'll choose 2008. Sort on values means that we're going to sort just like we've sorted in the last 11 versions of Excel, but instead of sorting on values, I want to sort on color. Now, this is a tedious process. I have to choose which color I want on top. Do I want the green cells at the top or the red cells at the top? Let's put green cells on top. I'll choose green. I now have to go through and add new rules. Again, very tedious to add yellow and red, but they've given me a great new button called Copy Level. I have it set up to sort on 2008. I'll copy the level and say that I want to put yellow next. Copy the level and say that I want to put red last. Let me add a new rule and say that after I have all my 2008 highlights at the top, then I want to sort by 2007. Sort on cell color. Again, green on top. Copy the level. Choose yellow. Copy the level. Choose red. Now, if you remember Excel 2003, we were limited to only 3 rules. Well, this is great in Excel 2007. We can have far more rules, which really comes in handy when you need to sort by many colors. Here, I'm really only sorting by 2 columns, but I had to have 6 rules because of the different colors. Click OK, and there all of my green 2008 cells come to the top, then the yellow cells, and then the red cells. Once I get beyond any cells that have been highlighted for 2008, then Excel sorts the 2007 cells, green on top, yellow next, and red after that. Sorting by color is a great new feature. The sorting option also works when you filter your data. Let's go to the filter icon on the data ribbon, which will apply the filter drop-downs to the headings. From the 2007 heading, I can filter by color and say that I only want to see the red cells. Microsoft shows me just the cells that are formatted with a certain color. Fantastic new features, being able to sort by color or filter by color. Now back on our home ribbon, let's just take a quick look at conditional formatting. If you've been using conditional formatting in the past, we always had the rules where we could highlight cells that were greater than, less than, between. All of those still exist. There's also new rules called top and bottom rules. This is where you can highlight all the cells that are above average, below average, cells in the bottom 10%, and even though that says bottom 10% and top 10%, you could actually say, I just need to see cells in the top 3 or bottom 5 or whatever number you want. Top 10 and bottom 10, again, could be top 5, top 20, whatever number you need to highlight, it's there in the conditional formatting rules. Conditional formatting is something that's been around in Excel forever, but I dropped it out of my Power Excel seminar because it was so hard to explain. It was limited to only 3 rules. It was very kludgy. It is now such a wonderful thing in Excel 2007. Make sure that you investigate the conditional formatting rules that we have in Excel 2007. Okay, so I'm going to close this file. I'm going to use File, Close. And next, open the SmartArt file. SmartArt is a fancy new name that Microsoft gave to their old business diagrams. It's possible you've been using Excel for 10 years and never ever noticed that tiny little icon down on the drawing toolbar that allowed you to add business diagrams. There were 5 different kinds of business diagrams you could add, a pyramid, a radial, but they really have revamped these diagrams in Excel 2007. The same SmartArt engine exists in Excel 2007, PowerPoint 2007, and Word 2007. You can create SmartArt in one application and easily copy it to the other application. Let's walk through a simple example of how to create SmartArt. The SmartArt entry point is on the Insert ribbon. Select Insert and then SmartArt. Initially, Excel shows this gallery of all the different types of SmartArt that you can create. You're currently seeing thumbnails of all the layouts. If you choose one of the categories on the left, Excel will filter to show just the matching styles. Let's take a look at the cycle diagrams. Within cycle, there are 14 different items to choose from. Some of those look sort of like pie charts, some are radial charts, some are cycle charts, and that last one is something really interesting called a gear chart. Now when you click on a thumbnail, the right side of the dialog box shows a color preview of the diagram and gives you words. It tells you the name of the layout And it also shows whether the Smart Art works with level 1 or level 2 text only. Now, you'll understand what that means in a minute. It says that this Smart Art is only good for level 1 text, and we'll keep that in mind as we create our diagram. We'll click OK, and Excel creates a default Smart Art for us. In this particular layout, it happens to have 5 shapes. If we have a process in mind that covers 5 shapes, well, we're good to go. But if your process only has 3 shapes or 4 shapes or 7 shapes or 17 shapes, it's very easy to change. The flashing insertion cursor is currently in the Type Your Text Here area. This is very reminiscent of PowerPoint, where you can build your outline in PowerPoint along the left. I'll type Step 1. And as I type in the left, you'll notice that the text on the right-hand side automatically changes. Hit the down arrow to move to the next shape, and we'll type Step 2. Down, Step 3. Down, Step 4. Down, Step 5. Now let's say we want to create a 6th step. It's very easy at this point. I'm going to hit the Enter key. The Enter key creates a brand new entry, and I type Step 6. That's it. That's all it takes to add a new shape to your Smart Art. Now this is a really boring diagram, the blue and everything, but we have many different things that we can do to this Smart Art. Watch what happens. In the Smart Art tools, we have 2 new ribbons, the Design ribbon and the Format ribbon. Global changes happen on the Design ribbon. Take a look at the Change Colors drop-down. We can choose to show various shades of each of the accent colors. So in this case, we're showing all blue, or we could show shades of blue, or an outline in blue. All 6 colors are in the list, so if we wanted red instead of blue, or green instead of blue, we could do that. In most cases, though, I really enjoy the Smart Art that changes color from shape to shape. It's much more visually appealing. We have 5 choices of colorful. You'll also notice at the top there are options for if you're going to print in black and white. So I'll choose one of the colorful styles, and that becomes permanent. The other very interesting thing is the Smart Art Styles Gallery. I'll open that gallery, and you see that we have 5 styles that are called Best Match for Document. These are really 2D styles. There are also 9 styles that are 3D styles, and they go from basic to really sort of over the top. Let's take a look at these. If we go to the second style, we get a white outline around our shapes. The third style gives us sort of a pastel view. The fourth style is a nice, deep, dark, rich color. And the fifth style starts to add a little bit of lighting to the top of the shapes. Now in the 3D, it starts to appear that our shapes have dimension. I really like the second and third 3D styles. As you get beyond that, though, there's really some styles that become very hard to read. This brick scene kind of turns each shape on its side, or even worse, the bird's eye scene turns the whole thing backwards. This reminds me of George Lucas at the beginning of Star Wars. He had that text that kind of went back into the screen. Great if you're George Lucas creating a big budget movie. Horrible if you want anyone to read this and understand what's going on. My joke is that if you have bad news that you want to present, put it on the bird's eye scene, and no one will be able to read anything that's there. Let me choose one of the 3D styles that I think looks pretty good. Now, when I click out of the Smart Art, it becomes embedded in my worksheet. There we go. Now, once you have the Smart Art, it's very easy to change to a different style. Let me select the Smart Art again, and we'll go back to our layouts, and I could change to different shapes, change to a radial. Oh, that looks horrible. Change to a gear, change to the matrix chart. If you want to go completely to a new category, click More Layouts, and you can change to list charts, process charts, hierarchy charts, relationship charts, matrix charts, or pyramid charts. Now, with 80 different styles, it would take 14 DVDs for me to show them all to you. So let me show you a few of my favorites. Sit back while I go to the examples worksheet. This is called a trapezoid list. Now remember I talked about level 1 and level 2 text. These shapes have room for a headline at the top, that's the level 1 text, and then room for bullet points underneath the headline, that's called level 2 text. Again, this is just like the outline view in PowerPoint. If you need to promote something from level 1 to level 2, you can just use the tab or back tab keys. If I click on 3C, the back tab key, it now becomes level 1 text and it is worthy of its own shape. See? Very, very easy to add new level 2 text, new level 1 text, or to change text from being level 1 to level 2. Now let's page down and look at the next style. This is called a target list. Basically, on the right-hand side, we have very basic white blocks with large level 1 text and several bullets of level 2 text. But on the left-hand side, we have this great-looking graphic. Now let's page down and look at the next style. Now, about 10% of the layouts have these accent pictures. You would click the accent picture and choose any picture from your computer, and Excel will force it to fit in the shape. This is great for illustrating your smart art, but I have to warn you about one thing. Make sure that you have the proper layout selected before you add your pictures. If you change from one layout to the next, Excel will forget what pictures you selected, and you'll have to reselect them. I'll hit page down to look at the next. This was added at the very last minute. I had several versions of the Excel 2007 beta, and this was one of the last ones they added. It's really cool how it works. It's the pro-con balance scale, but the shape actually changes in response to how many items are on each side. Let me show you how that works. We'll click on the Smart Art. You'll notice that there are 2 items of level 1 text, pro and con. Now those could be any words you wanted. I just used pro and con. It happens that pro has 2 items of level 2 text and con has 3 items of level 2 text. If I would add one new level 2 underneath pro, the items are now equally balanced and the scale is flat. Go down and take the con item. I'll hit backspace, backspace, backspace. There are now more pros than cons, and the whole graphic tips to the left. This is pretty slick. You're limited to only 3 shapes on either side, so you can have 0, 1, 2, or 3, but a great way to get your point across, trying to show some sort of a decision point. So let me hit page down. We'll take a look at the pyramid chart. Pyramids are pretty interesting because they can expand in most cases. If I choose this chart and add more items, Excel keeps expanding the pyramid. Now there's a few types of smart art shapes that are limited in the number of bullet points they can have. One of the other pyramid charts is one of those that's limited, so let's go change to that type. I have the smart art selected. I need to go to the design ribbon, choose layouts, and choose the segmented pyramid. Now this pyramid works great if you happen to have 1, 4, or 9 items. If you have anything in between, Excel will have to leave blank spaces in the middle of the pyramid. Looks kind of crazy. Again, it's great if you have perfectly 1 or 4 or 9 elements. Other layouts that are limited are the gear chart, the funnel chart. And I'll scroll up. When I choose funnel, it says on the right-hand side that there can only be 4 lines of level text. Unused text does not appear. If I choose that type and click OK, you'll see that my first 4 shapes appear in the diagram. The other shapes continue in the text pane, but they have the red X. Now, because of privacy concerns, Microsoft does not want to store anything with this workbook that you don't know is there. And when you click away, you might forget that items 5, 6, and 7 are there. They remain tied to this smart art while the workbook is open. But once you've saved and closed the workbook, Microsoft will go through and delete items 5, 6, and 7. So if you accidentally select a style that doesn't have enough room, you need to immediately go back and choose a style that will accommodate all of those shapes. Smart art is very, very cool. I can imagine lots of great presentations that will be made where people will use smart art to show a relationship or a process. I only have one really minor complaint with smart art, and that's that all of the text in smart art is static. I mean, we have Excel here. We can do calculations. It would be wonderful if the text for the smart art could come from the cells on the worksheet. Now, I understand in PowerPoint and Word this isn't a necessary feature, and I think that Microsoft really believes that this is a PowerPoint feature. They just sort of added it to Excel as maybe a novelty. However, we've come up with a great way to work around this to create smart art where the text from the smart art actually comes from the cells. Let's go to the Shapes worksheet. Now, on the left-hand side of this worksheet, I have a running total of all the invoices made throughout the day. It shows the sales rep, the invoice number, and how large the sale was. I have formulas at the top of the worksheet that use SUMIF to figure out the totals per sales rep, and then rank and VLOOKUP to figure out who my largest sales reps are. I'll let you investigate those on your own time. The important part here is how we get this smart art to have values from the worksheet. Well, I built the smart art with the static text like Microsoft expects me to do. I'm going to click inside the smart art, select one shape, and then press Control-A to select all of the shapes. Now that all the shapes are selected, I'll use Control-C to copy and go to a blank section of the worksheet and paste. A very interesting thing just happened. I just converted from smart art to shapes. Now in Excel 2003, you knew these as auto shapes. In Excel 2007, they're just called shapes. I'm actually going to delete my original smart art. I'll click the border and press delete. Shapes have been around in Excel forever, and ever since Excel 97, we've been able to apply a formula to a shape. Let me scroll up to the original formula so we can see how they work. In F5, we have a formula that takes the name of the person who happens to be the sales leader, concatenates it with the text, is the sales leader, and then concatenates it with their current dollar sales. F5, F6, and F7 are the important cells here. We'll scroll back down to see the shapes. Click on the shapes to select them. This brings back the Format tab underneath Drawing Tools. On the Format tab, we need to ungroup these shapes. Go to the Group dropdown and choose Ungroup. Now, select the text in the first box. You don't want to type the text here in the shape, but click up in the formula bar and type the formula equal F5. Press Enter. The shape now inherits the formula from cell F5. I'll do that for my other two text boxes. Equal F6. Equal F7. Well, hey, there you have it. A perfect workaround for something that Microsoft says is not possible.